Hi everyone. Today's episode is going to be all about anti-gravity. I'm here in the creative studio by Google, and I know this is the second video I'm doing on a roll about anti-gravity, but the first one that I did, which was very deep inside how to use it, was released 4 days before Google decided to release Antigravity 2.0. So I got the studio, I got Rich, and we're going to talk about anti-gravity. You want to introduce yourself properly?
Sure, I'm Rich. I'm on the Antigravity Developer Relations team at Google. So I'm here in Berlin talking about anti-gravity the whole time. We've got a stand out there and workshops and lots of anti-gravity.
Amazing. So we're going to dive deep into 4 new anti-gravity that we have instead of 1.
Yes.
What happened there?
Yeah, we used to have anti-gravity. It was the VS Code-based IDE. And now we have 4 surfaces. We have Antigravity 2, which is kind of the old agent manager. We have Antigravity IDE, Antigravity CLI, and Antigravity SDK, so you can build your own anti-gravity-based applications. And what happened is the big question. What happened at Google I/O? What happened to anti-gravity? I mean, agents and agent work, knowledge work, whatever you want to call it, is for a much, much wider audience than developers. Developers were obviously first to get right in there and be building apps all the time, and VS Code interfaces with agents on the side is very friendly and welcoming to a developer. But it's not the same case for the wider audience.
Right.
When you go developer adjacent roles and you're looking at PMs, marketing, huge numbers of people who want to be able to use agents, having the primary interface as VS Code-based interface with an agent manager, it just isn't very welcoming. They're not going to install it, they're not going to try it. So we used to have the IDE as the primary interface with an open agent manager button.
Right.
And you can get to the simplified interface. And now essentially the agent manager is the simplified welcoming interface for everybody. And developers have an open IDE button at the top.
Which is, by the way, the same activity that we have in the previous version, because I'm a huge fan of anti-gravity from day one.
Yeah.
And you also had this button that you're moving between. So it was already 2 different windows. Now it's just 2 different apps.
Now it's 2 different apps,
Anyway,
yeah. Yeah.
But we have also new stuff inside of it, right? So let's start with Antigravity 2. Just
It's the
focus on that.
future vision. Antigravity 2 is the future vision, where eventually this will be the one place that everybody needs.
Right.
Right now for developers, they might find there's some features missing that they really like from the IDE. Right, you can see diffs when it edits files, but you can't see your entire file structure. You can't go through and make sure it's built files, which is why the IDE is still there. But Antigravity 2 will get more and more of those features through time, and hopefully to a point where it's not an IDE, but it's all anybody needs to build applications. And also do agentic knowledge work.
Yeah.
It's great at working with Google Workspace, Sheets, Slides, Docs, all those kind of things, researching on the web, doing deep research, using science skills. You know, it's a much wider agentic environment.
Definitely. And just as a developer, I'm still using both of them because from time to time, it's much more easier just to click on the IDE button and go fix a small line instead of getting erased of all the tokens. And then when you come into your real work, you don't have any more token and you have to wait like a few hours to get them. So yeah, for us developers, we still have the option to choose and to decide where we want to do our work, right? So I think
We're trading off time for tokens.
Isn't that like the major crisis of today?
I think it is. I mean, all AI dev tools were heavily subsidized, and those subsidies are slowly going away, and everything's getting expensive. And yeah, you hear from enterprises who unleash developer tools, AI tools across like 1,000 developers, and
Yeah.
the number of tokens being used can escalate quite quickly.
So I want to go a little bit deeper. In my last episode, I talked a lot about the sub-agent Chrome, which is my best thing when I'm doing web development. I love it. I'm doing the planning with it, with Nano Banana. He's doing all the screens and the demo before he's writing the code. Then he's writing the code and he's doing all the testing. And I can just get a video for the testing. I love this feature.
Okay.
Running on IDE and on Antigravity 2 or only on the IDE part?
Specifically the /browser command, the sub-agent for...
Yeah.
It works in Antigravity 2 as well.
Okay, so we still have the option not to look at the code and still use those features.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
The demo we're doing here is building retro arcade games, and that's all in Antigravity 2, and it's launching the browser and doing the debugging and stuff, yeah.
Amazing. So let's talk about the third part of the family, which is CLI.
Yeah.
Which is, in a way, we lost Gemini CLI, we got Antigravity CLI. Tell me about the differences.
We have a comparison doc internally. We also have a blog post on it already, actually, which one, from when there were both, to help you decide which one to choose. Antigravity CLI was natively built to be multi-process. I think Gemini CLI was single process and you're doing one thing after another. So Antigravity CLI is more in the having multiple agents running on multiple projects all at the same time kind of theory. But I mean, they were built as two very separate projects.
Right.
We didn't know at the time that there would only be one. It's not like one was traded off for the other internally, even though that's the way it seems to have turned out now.
It's not a race.
Sometimes, yeah, developers just need a CLI. They're in headless environments. They're telling SSH into servers, things like that. And the CLI is there to give them all the Antigravity tools on the command line.
Which I think these days we see more and more developer going back to the terminal. So it only makes sense that for the people who are using it, they will do it. Personally, I have to say, I'm running inside Antigravity IDE. I have two terminal tabs, one running Cloud Code and the other running Antigravity CLI, and I keep switching between them and getting like some kind of a weird conversation just to get like something done, because I do have realized that I have different personality in a way,
Yeah.
and each one have like better things in other stuff.
Fundamentally, you know which one to use for which tasks.
Exactly.
If you're going to fix a GitHub repo, which one would you go for?
It depends, first of all, of the language
Okay.
on the repo, how deep it is. So if I have a repo that is very large, I will use Antigravity tools because they have better understanding of the repo
Okay.
than Claude.
Yeah.
And then Antigravity will do a summarization for Claude to fix the bug.
Fair enough.
So I'm
use the tokens
playing with more than one because that's helping. Inside Antigravity, it's very easy. Obviously, when you're using Antigravity 2, you don't have this option because you don't have the terminal inside, but I do have other regular terminal that I'm using. So I'm fine over there.
Yeah.
I think the main thing for Antigravity 2 is the ability. I know this is for me. I'm now running 2 or 3 projects at the same time, which is mind-blowing. So while one project is running, and you need to wait until they're doing their magic,
Yep.
I have time, and instead of going to social media, I'm just going to another task that I have on a different repo and just continue that. And the beauty of Antigravity 2 now is that you can see all of them on the side like you're doing it on Gmail, that you're looking which notification you get. So I really like
It's
it.
much easier to context switch as well when you're working with agents across projects.
Definitely.
Before, you'd have to get back into the code base and remind yourself where all the files are and the structures and everything. And now you just fire a prompt.
Yeah.
It's how I keep my personal Android projects alive. Because I only need to go to them once every 3 to 6 months. And it would always take longer just to reopen the project and remember where everything was and get it building again, even get it to the right libraries. But now with Antigravity and the Android CLI and the Android tools, I can just keep everything up to date all the time.
And that's for old project.
Yes.
How are you using with Greenfield project? What is your...
I think AI dev tools are really
go.
optimized for Greenfield. That's what most people are doing. They're going in and either vibe coding something or building from scratch. But I mean, I am an Android developer, so I bias towards that side of the developer spectrum. And it used to be really hard to build new Android apps with AI dev tools.
Yeah.
But since the Android CLI and the Android skills came out, Antigravity, I'm using it all the time now. It hands over to Android to make the template project for Greenfield projects. And then it does all the building itself. Then it hands back to Android to do the building, the build Gradle.
And for
Yeah.
Android developers, do you recommend to use Antigravity or the Android Studio? Because it also have now all the AI feature inside of it.
Depends what they're trying to do, yeah. I mean, there's things, when I want to do the debugging or network analysis or, figure out why it's janky, we always get back into Android Studio. But for making quick progress on prototype projects or new projects or fixing issues that have come up through the Play Store or the GitHub repo, I do it in Antigravity. Because like you said, whilst something's happening, I can just flick to a different project, send off a little prompt, let it fix something, and
Yeah,
it's a
that's
nice,
fun.
easy workflow.
So let's go to the last one, which is I'm waiting to talk about the SDK.
Antigravity
Antigravity
SDK, yes. So now everything in Google is based on the Antigravity harness. If you look around, if you saw at Google I/O, we mentioned it a lot. AI Studio is now using the Antigravity harness. Antigravity uses the Antigravity harness. All the dev tools are now collectively using this one harness. They always used to have all their own different harnesses, and now they use the Antigravity harness. But what if you want to build your own app that uses the Antigravity harness?
Right.
You can use the Antigravity SDK. You don't have to use it inside Antigravity. It doesn't really have much to do with Antigravity. All the Antigravity SDK is doing is giving you access to that underlying harness to build your own applications.
So theoretically, I don't know, tell me if I'm right.
Yeah.
Can I take the IDE that I love to work with,
Yes.
doesn't matter which one of it,
Yep.
and create a plugin that uses Antigravity inside of it with the SDK? Or is that too much?
Yeah, you could rebuild the Antigravity CLI using the SDK if you wanted. You could do a plugin for, you can do those things.
Does it make sense, right?
Yeah, what you get from that is the lovely thought loops that happen in the Antigravity backend. You know, it's not just calling Gemini, it's working with Gemini to think through things, plan, process, and get the results that you want.
Right.
And get to the goals that you want from either a single prompt or a series of prompts. So yeah, if you want that power behind it and not just calling Gemini, but having the entire thought process that comes along with Antigravity, then yeah, you could.
It's basically, I'm always saying that it's the difference between having a direct access to the LLM, which we're using Gemini for, or have an agent, which is a tool that wrap it. So I usually compare it to cars. So you have the Sashi and the car, and you have the agent. So the agent is the agent.
Yep.
And sorry, the agent is a car, and the LLM, whether
It's like the engine or something.
it's like the agent value. And then you can switch and use it. And you can actually see that, at least for me, I'm feeling that every time we have a new version of an agent, like Antigravity, we have a different slice of personality than the previous one. And every time we're getting a new agent, we also get a little slice of personality. And for me, and this is like the best thing that I'm doing is realization that if there's a new version, maybe I need to run some kind of a benchmark to see if my skills are still working the same, my prompts are still the same, do I need to adjust?
This is a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
We run skill evals internally. Like every skill that we have evals for everything that we're putting out, and we run them frequently because, first of all, you need to make sure that your skill is giving you some enhancement over the base model, and you want to know what percentage that is. You want to know whether you're using more or less tokens with the skill, but over time, the models are getting better and your skills may stay static. So we also have a threshold at which point we'll just bin a skill because it's no longer useful.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't give you enough an advantage over the base model over time to keep the skills useful. So I think evals are just going to become more and more important for everything that we do with AI dev tools.
Definitely. Not only inside tools, also for our own project that we are building. So yeah, that's important. So I just want to wrap up for the people who didn't see the previous video. Antigravity, we have skills.
Yes.
We have MCPs.
Yes.
We have hooks
Yes.
for all of the four.
2.0 and CLI.
Okay.
Both have hooks, so you know
that's
when
enough
things
for me.
are running and you can. Yes.
We already talked about the sub-agent Chrome. Are there any more
The browser sub-agent, yeah.
feature like that? No, I think that's the only.
We added quite a lot of new slash commands into the CLI and into 2.0, grill me and other things.
Yeah, the plan one.
Plan, because planning used to be on by default, and then we made it an option in the UI, and now it's a
Thank you for
slash
that.
command. Yes. And now it's supposed to dynamically figure it out. Also, sub-agents came in as well, and you can always ask it to spawn sub-agents, but it should be doing it dynamically for you when it thinks the task deserves sub-agents.
Yeah. So basically, we don't have time now, but just go on all the / command.
Yes.
So by the way, it's my favorite. I'm using it a lot just to have like sense. Since they're running a lot of agent in the back, sometimes you get lost and you're not sure, wait, what exactly are you doing right now? What are you doing with my tokens? so that's a good way just to investigate what's going on real time. So that's another tip that I'm using a lot.
Nice.
What else we need to talk about? Let's talk about the future.
Yeah.
We love writing code, right? And someone just doing it better than us in a way.
Having your own computer outpace you at writing code.
So I think, in a way, the change in Antigravity 2 is, I think, pointing, or at least the way I'm seeing it, is that Google pointing that said, you don't have to be a developer to create. And people who don't have any understanding of code could also create
Absolutely. Yeah.
and website and everything. So that's like the first phase. But still, I'm a developer and I have relationship with my code in a way. Not anymore, by the way. It's less emotional.
You're more a creator of the program, the structure, than the actual code.
How do you see the future
orchestrator.
for us, for the creator one?
I think it's still super important to have developer skills. I mean, when we're looking at the wider audience of builders, the ones that are being very successful with that are the ones that understand the entire software development lifecycle and process. PMs are great at this kind of thing because they always knew how to plan a project. They always knew how to gather requirements. I mean, vibe coding with a single shot line of code isn't really development. You might get lucky, you might produce something that was, you'd be like, oh wow, look what it made. I didn't even expect that. But if you're collecting requirements, non-functional, functional requirements, you're figuring out what the entire project must be. You know how to test things. You know how to test edge cases. I mean, you're going to build something, and if you don't even know what an edge case is, you're not going to realize 80% of your users are going to fall apart at an edge case at some point.
Right.
Right? You need to still understand all those things to be successful at building projects. And now you have like an unlimited number of sub-agents to figure all these things out for you and construct the project and build your dream. But you still need to understand the software development lifecycle and how these things work to really get the most out of it.
I'm just trying to think, did you saw the slides of my workshop that start with a developer? Yeah, because what I'm showing in that workshop is that vibe coding is part one.
Yes.
We did it always. It was prototyping. We created prototyping. It was very hard to do a working prototype, so we drew them.
Yes.
or we used slides to do that. But now we can just have like in a few hours a prototype that's running that we can show the management and the customers and get real feedback on it. And then we still need to design it.
It's another thing inside a company. Architectural decisions are really important.
Yes.
When you're vibe coding, you're like, whatever architecture you want. But when you're going to deploy this to production and you're paying for XYZ cloud services, I mean, the architecture is very important. You want to be part of that decision-making process.
Definitely, definitely. And you still can use agentic coding.
Yes.
But before that, you need to work.
Yes.
And I think, at least for me, I'm doing a lot of architectural projects, this part also become easier with AI. And this is where I'm taking Antigravity 2 for a spin, because I don't need to start with code, I'm starting with documentation.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't care about the code, we're just writing documentation, creating documentation, and then later on, those documentation are the base of the agent on the new session that we start writing all the rest of the stuff that eventually going to be the testing, the code, the testing first code, TDD, as we always dream of.
Of course we do.
But we never had the time to do it. Now we do have the time to do it. And later on the deployment as well.
Yeah.
So, so you think Antigravity going to shift in a year again?
I think it's working towards a dream of this one single agentic workflow, agentic knowledge, work, pain, whatever it is that, it's going to evolve. It's definitely evolve. It'll become better for developers, but at the same time, better for everyone who wants to use it
for more people to create.
Yeah. Not just do development work with. I mean, a lot of my time in Antigravity is the knowledge work side of things, creating reports, getting it to analyze things,
Right. I think, in a way, when I'm looking at that, in the future, it will be more easy to create stuff to start with. You still need the experts to finish it and to guide you. Eventually, that will going to be shift as well. So we are in a period of time, which is very interesting, that changing is happening all the time.
Yeah.
It's usually happen when we have like huge industrial revolution that we had before. It always came with a lot. We didn't get the full factory into a pipeline in one day.
Right.
It was a process. And right now we are in the process in our field that we love. So I think the best thing that we can wrap up with is embrace change. I think that's the only thing. So when you get a new tool, because the first moment that I saw the announcements of Antigravity 2, I was like, oh my God, what have they done? And then I just gave it like the weekend to play with it. And I realized, oh, actually, I can figure out.
You couldn't have done this a year ago. The tools, the models weren't up to the
For sure.
Right? You're always fixing errors and,
And in a year, we will also have more changes, because who knows what the model will be able to do. And what will be the next sub-agent that can run whatever. We don't know. So, yeah.
We've moved so quickly from docs. I can't even remember what we were using inside documentation for training agents, through MCPs and skills and CLIs, and everything's optimizing very quickly.
Rich, thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I hope you will try the tool, and I promise I will do a video that describes how to install it and how to use it, and maybe more about skills, because I think this is an awesome tool.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's great to be on the show. Great.